Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stories of Horror. This is episode 36, and today's topic, as you already seen from the video title, is about some scary clown stories. We'll dive into some stories about things that look, supposed to be innocent like. You see some clowns, you always think positive, a circus or some type of, playing jokes or a prankster or something. But sometimes the clowns, people in the clown costumes, have some deep, dark meaning and brought bad connotation to the clowns. So we're going to dive into some different stories that range from the 70s all the way up to now. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Without further ado, hit the intro. The Wasco Clown. In October 2018, armed clowns terrified residents in Wasco and Bakersfield, California. The sightings began after a Wasco couple posted photos of themselves in creepy clown costumes as a part of a year-long art project, but the photos went viral and copycats followed suit. We've been having sightings all over the city, Lieutenant Jason Mason told the reporters. They ranged anywhere from a guy carrying a gun to a guy carrying a knife running up to houses. One teen was arrested for chasing a minor while dressed as a clown, but no other pranksters were caught. Various Twitter and Instagram accounts from the time, including a Facebook fan page, posted images claiming to be the creepy clowns. They all since been deactivated. But in 2013, in England, years before that, a similar creepy experience took place as well. It was a guy dressed in a Stephen King's, like Pennywise costume, and he stalked the streets in the town. He gave an anonymous interview at the Chronicle and Echo in 2013 in September, and he said most people enjoy being a bit freaked out, and then they can laugh about it afterwards, is what he said. He said he also was an aspiring filmmaker. His was just used as a prank, but a lot of people kind of took it very far. This next story is about a clown from Florida. It was a guy who dressed up in a clown costume from Florida back in 1990 on May 26th. He went to a home at 10:45 a.m. A lady named Marilyn Warren opened her door to find a bulb-nosed clown holding a bouquet of red and white flowers and two balloons, one emblazoned with a picture of Snow White. The clown shot her point blank in the face, and she died at the hospital 2 days later. Warren's teenage son saw the clown run to a white Chrysler LeBaron and escape, never to be found. The 19 years in law enforcement, the county sheriff said, "This is the strangest thing I ever seen in all my time being in law enforcement." Warren's husband, Michael Warren, was a prime suspect in the crime. Police searched his office at West Palm Beach car dealership and found evidence that he tampered with odometers, but nothing to connect him to his wife's murder. However, a suspected affair and five-figure life insurance policy looked suspicious. Michael Warren was allegedly romantically involved with a female employee. The flowers and balloons delivered before Marilyn Warren's murder was purchased at a store near the employee's apartment, and costume shop employees tentatively identified her as the woman who had purchased a clown costume the same day as the killing. Neither was charged in the murder, and the case remains still cold and still unsolved. Klutzo the Clown. In October 2007, a former cop and minister who performed as Christian clown was arrested and charged with possessing child pornography and traveling to engage in sexual conduct with a minor. Paul Carlock Jr., who performed as Klutzo the Clown for a decade plus, has traveled to perform a House of Joy orphanage in the Philippines. He returned customs officers at the San Francisco airport asked to look at his digital camera since he'd been with children in the country marketed as a high risk for sex tourism. Authorities found images of naked boys playing, showering, and sitting clothed but with their genitals visible. Carlo told investigators he planned to edit the images to show his church that the boys were so poor that they couldn't afford clothes and that they were photographed the way because that's how they live. 3 boys at the House of Joy told investigators that they woke up to find Carlo fondling them. When Carlo's Springfield, Illinois home was searched, at least 21 child porn videos were found. Carlo's employment history had always revolved around children, from working at a boys' school in Illinois Department of Public Health Child Health Division, time as a certified juvenile officer, volunteering Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and acting as a police department youth division detective. Carlo denied any wrongdoing, even as he was sent to prison. He died there awaiting trial in November 2007 after 39 days of ongoing health complications and confrontations with guards. Jose Guadalupe Jimenez, a California professional clown, he was sentenced 10 years in prison for rape of a 12-year-old girl back in October 12th of 2012. Jose Guadalupe Jimenez, a professional clown, has been sentenced 10 years in prison after the DNA evidence that was filed tied him to a rape of a girl that he abducted in 2002. So he was sentenced in 2012, but he abducted this girl in 2002. So I don't know. I guess that was 10 years ago. So she was 2 years old, I guess, when he abducted her, and he was in full costume when he did it. So he probably used the costume to lure in her and kidnapped her. It said Jimenez, a 43-year-old from Anaheim, was sentenced on Wednesday after pleading guilty to a felony count of forcible lewd acts on a child under 14 and another felony lewd acts charge. Orange County District Attorney spokesman Farrah Imani said, dressed as his clown character L10 Martin, Jimenez approached the girl at Taco Bell in Fullerton. He dragged her into his car, drove away, and then raped her in the vehicle. So this was two accounts. So he had two accounts. There was one that he abducted, they said back in 2002, and then this account right here that happened when he drugged somebody else, took her to the hotel, and said the girl escaped eventually. That's how, and alerted kind of like the clerks that worked at the hotel, and that's kind of how he got caught, and he pleaded guilty to those charges. But that's still a crazy and very terrible and horrible story. John Wayne Gacy, one of America's most notorious serial killers, was an established community leader named the Springfield, Illinois Man of the Year in 1964 by a local group and performed as a beloved children's clown known as Pogo. Gacy was first arrested on sodomy charges in 1968 after the father of a 15-year-old boy Gacy had hired to do odd jobs around his home showed authorities that Gacy forced his son into oral sex. Gacy received a 10-year sentence but was released after 2 years due to good behavior. See, my only problem with that is why would they release if a guy went to jail and got sentenced 10 years? They said guys found evidence that said that he did this where he forced the child to do some sexual relations with them, like that sexual things with them, and you let him out of jail because of good behavior after 2 years, and y'all let the guy back in the streets. And some of those bodies and some of the people that he killed, as you guys know that Gacy did in the future, from based off the story thing, you know, some of those bodies come back on the police department or the judge, whoever ruled that, I don't know if the police department, but the judge and whoever ruled that stuff and said that he's going to be out of jail and free just on probation, even though he was sentenced to a 10-year sentence. But back to the story. During Gacy's time in prison, his first wife filed for divorce. After his release in 1970, he relocated to Des Plaines, Illinois, where he married his high school sweetheart, began a contracting business, and created Pogo the Clown, who became a popular figure at birthday parties and children's hospitals. His second wife filed for divorce in 1975 after he admitted he was sexually attracted to young men. Between 1972 and 1978, he tortured, raped, and murdered at least 33 boys. Gacy was convicted of 12 murders and sentenced to death on March 13, 1980. He was executed by lethal injection on May 9, 1984. So they sentenced him to death in 1980, and it happened in 1984. I'm not a fan of the death penalty. I'm not a fan of the death penalty. The death penalty is, is bad, but like in this case, you can't defend the actions of a Gacy, of course. What Gacy did is terrible and terrible and terrible. I always feel like if you do a death penalty, you kind of sinking yourself low to their level as well and becoming something like controlling something like your God, like life or death or something. But you should let him sit in that cell and just stay there for the rest of his life. He should have got out in the first place at that little 2-year good behavior sentence thing, but they let him out, and then he went out there and did more crimes. They said over 33 boys were either assaulted, raped, or murdered over that period of time. And he also, had buried bodies underneath his home as well. But we're gonna dive into more of that story probably later down the line about Gacy and stuff. Gacy has a deep story. We can dive into that probably one of these episodes one day and do a story on him, because we did one on Ed Gein, we did one on Jack the Ripper, we did one on Dean Corll, and a lot of other people too as well. So he had bodies underneath of his home And when they finally investigated him and finally discovered what he was doing, the crimes he was doing, they arrested him and then they sentenced him to the death penalty. And I remember one of the things he said in that interview. You ever see like the Gacy interview, which is very disturbing? He was saying that like they asked him why did how he was comfortable having dead bodies underneath his home. He was like, the dead ain't the one. He said the dead ain't the one you gotta be worried about. It's the living that you gotta be worried about bothering you. And that is true because he was the guy who went around and kind of a lot of contradiction in that statement too, because he went around and he did a lot of things and killed people too. So it's kind of like being like, well, yeah, we gotta worry about you because you the one went out there and did all those crimes. But these are some crazy stories. These are some very horrific stories. Very scary stories, those experiences that happened to those people who lost their lives and people who was tortured. About like a clown. That's why kind of like how clowns have like such a bad connotation. Of course, when you first see a clown, you like, oh, circus, you're thinking of friendly, something positive, something happy and jolly. But when you start seeing all the crimes that was committed, people had a clown costume. I'm a big fan of the Joker, Joker like that. I feel like Joker do some crazy stuff, of course, but one of my favorite villains because sometimes like when you see certain expectations of him, like the certain ones they do when they do some stories, not all the stories, some stories are just plain evil, but some stories they have them where like it's kind of like the movie, the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. It's kind of like, is he really the bad guy? You know what I mean? A little bit. He did some things that probably should have went about a different approach, but kind of like they scoped and made him to that way. But sometimes the clowns, pain and all that stuff can get bad connotation because of all the things that happen, things that range from all the way from this, like you've seen from the 70s and 80s like that, and all the way up, and maybe even before then like that. So we might dive into Gacy's story probably later in the line too as well. The next one we're going to be doing a story on a case that was a very popular case about some paranormal activity that happened and also a murder that happened as well. So we're going to do a case on that for the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video right here. It's Friday the 13th. I'm gonna go watch some Friday the 13th. I thought the first few Friday the 13th movies are cool and stuff, but after a while they start stressing it out. They start saying Jason go to New York, be boxing people on the roof and then out of space and all type of stuff that start happening. But I hope you guys enjoyed this and enjoy your Friday the 13th. And I'll see you guys next week on Stories of Horror. Peace out.